Welcome back, and we're going to add some leaves to that low poly tree. Let's get started. Alright, we already have the trunk here, and if we go into material view, if we remember, is right here in the top right hand corner. Here we go, and as you saw, still there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add some leaves to this, and we're going to use a sphere object to really make it look like a bushel of leaves, not individual leaves. First off, what I want to do is, if you go over here, you see that we got a scene collection. This tells you about everything that's in your scene. As you can tell, it's like a directory, and you can put everything into individual collections, and you can also double click these and name them. I'm just going to keep this as collection, and what I want to do is right here, Blender recognizes our tree trunk as a cube still. What I want to do is I want to double click that, and I want to rename that to tree trunk, or you can name it trunk, whatever you feel comfortable with, or whatever you think is going to help you remember whatever it is. Now on a small project like this, it's really not important whether you name the objects, but when you start adding more and more objects to the scene, this is something you definitely want to practice. So I use it even with the smallest of projects to get in the habit of naming my objects so I can easily remember what's what, because if you got a bunch of things added in and everything is named cube, and if you add another cube, it just gets called cube 1, cube 2, cube 3, and if you reshape those to whatever you want it to be, you're not going to know which one's which, because you're just going to have a list of cube 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., etc., all the way through your collection. I actually have a friend that doesn't name any of his objects, and I opened up one of his projects one time and I was like, how do you know what's what? But anyways, it's a good habit to get into. Name all your objects so you know what's what, where it's at, and once you get into bigger projects, start making new collections and naming them. And that's a good practice to get into. Alright, I'm in object mode, and what I want to do is I want to hit Shift A to add an object. Right here we got a list of things, but we want to go to Mesh, go over here, and select the UV sphere object. Once that's selected, I want to hit the period key next to the enter button on my numpad to zoom in on that object. And I'm going to scroll out some to zoom out, rotate around it. And what I want to do is I want to hit G for grab, and hit that Z to constrict it to the Z axis, move it up towards the top of the tree. Then I'm going to hit Shift, clicking on the mouse wheel, and pan the camera upward to get a better view on this sphere. And actually I'm going to come out of render preview and go back into solid mode. And what I want to do is I want to hit tab on this to go into edit mode while the sphere is selected. And right here at the top of this, you'll see a little dot with some circles around it, and you see this little wavy figure here. What this is the proportional editing tool. If you hit that, it'll light up blue to let you know that that's turned on. Now, when you use this tool, you've got to remember that you're turning it on or you've turned it off, because a lot of times people will turn it on and do things with it, save it, come back, not pay attention to that, and try to move a vertice and realize it's moving the entire object or more vertices than one, and it become a headache. And it's an easy thing to forget. People do it all the time. I've done it several times, and I've been like, why is it doing this? Why is this happening? Why is it distorting the rest of the mesh? And then I happen to look up and I'm like, oh, I got proportional editing on. So it's easy to forget. Just try to get in the habit of remembering to turn that on and off when you're done with it. Now I want to give you an example of what proportional editing does. First, I want to hit 1 at the top of the keyboard to get into that vertex mode. And I'm going to select one vertice. I'm going to select, actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit 1 to look at it from the y-axis. And what I want to do is I want to, well, let's see, kind of want to grab, let's just grab this vertice right here. And once I grab that vertice, I'm going to zoom out. And I'm going to hit the G key to grab that vertice. And if you notice on the screen, there is a circle around that vertice. What that's doing is it's saying we're going to grab that vertice, but we're also, as that vertice moves, the other vertices that are within this circle are going to move with it. And watch, as I hit grab, I'm going to hit the x-axis to pull it across, and you'll notice that all these other vertices will move with it. Now if I scroll out on the wheel here, you'll notice that it'll grab more of those vertices. As I scroll in, it'll shrink that circle down and let Blender know to grab less vertices. So you just adjust that the way you want and keep moving out on the x-axis, and we're starting to get some shape now. Now I want to go to the top here, grab that top vertice. I want to look at it from the side view on the y-axis, and I'm going to hit G, and I'm going to hit Z so it knows to grab that vertice, and I want it to kind of flatten that out a little bit. There we go. That's about what I want. Kind of flatten that out. And then I'm going to hit G, Z again, and kind of grab less vertices, kind of deform that a little bit. And then I'm going to grab another one, hit G, Z. And at this point, you kind of just want to shape this to look like a bushel of leaves. And you move it around to whatever you feel comfortable with. Just grab different ones, hit G with that proportional editing. Now proportional editing is good for one reason. It helps you move more vertices into a position instead of having to do individual vertices and it taking a very long process. Grab, I'm gonna scroll out. I'm gonna actually pull that up on the Z axis right there. Kind of shape that a little differently. I like that. That's nice. Alright, and now what I want to do is I want to go back in the tab and keep it like this. And I'm going to hit 1 to look at it from the y-axis. And alright, I'm gonna put that on this limb right here to make it look like it's out there. So what I want to do is I want to first of all grab that, grab Z, bring it down, and then hit G, Y. Pull it over to the right so it sits right there on top of it. I kind of want to hit grab and then Z. Remember G for grab. Pull it down right there. Now I'm going to click this and go over here in their scene collections area, and I want to rename that sphere, and I want to do leaves. That way we know that that is the leaves. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit tab, go back into edit mode, and I'm going to hit shift A and add another UV sphere, and I'm gonna hit G for grab, Z constricted on the Z axis, and do the same thing. Now that I have it up there, I want to hit G and I want to hit Y and move it over. And you notice I didn't turn that proportional editing off, so everything within that circle is kind of moving. So what I want to do is I want to turn that off. Now I also want to tell you that you can turn proportional editing on and off with hitting the O key on your keyboard. That turns it on and off, on, off. Just always, if you're wondering if it's on or off, you can always grab something and see if it's moving more than it needs to, or you can look up here and this little dot here will be lit up and it'll let you know that it's on. If that's lit up, it's on. As you can tell, it's grayed out at this moment. It's off. There's also other things you can do in here, like you can do a smooth fall off, a sphere, a root. There's different ones. You can get in here and play with this, and we might play with that actually on this sphere to kind of get an idea. First of all, what I want to do though is I want to grab this sphere and I want to hit G, Y to move it over onto this. And what I'm thinking about doing is taking this and pulling it out and shaping it maybe to connect it to this or this limb here. I'm not exactly sure what I want to do. I think I'll use individual spheres. I'll use one for this side and one for this and this one here on its own. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and start moving some of these vertices around. Let's grab this one, hit G, Y, move it down the Y axis. Grab this one, hit G, Z, grab it, pull it on the Z axis. We'll hit G, Y, pull this out that way. Let's do G, Y, grab more of those. Let's do X. pull those out, shape this out. I'm gonna look at it from the top view a little bit, hit grab, and I'm gonna hit Shift Z to constrict it to the X and Y axis, which means that Blender will know that this vertex can move on the X or the Y axis, but it cannot move on the Z axis. And I did that by hitting Shift Z. That's letting Blender know to exclude the Z axis when I'm moving the vertex. So I'm gonna move that around. I'll probably do the same thing here. I'm gonna hit Shift, I'm gonna hit grab, Shift Z, and move that around a little bit. At this point, I'm gonna speed this up, and I'm gonna hover over one of these, and I'm going to hit L, linked, and then hit Shift D, and I'm gonna hit, I'm just gonna move it over here. Put that right there. And move. Now, if you'll notice, I've duplicated a vertex off of this as well, because apparently I had something selected, but it's easy to do. Just come over here and select that vertex and hit the delete key. Hit delete vertices, and that'll get rid of that extra vertex we don't need. Now, I'm going to go ahead and reshape this a little bit. Let's see, what do I want to do? First of all, let's go ahead and hit L to grab the vertices on this sphere, and I'm going to hit G, Y. Oops, I got the proportional editing, turn that off, hit G, Y, move back, hit G, X, move it right there. Now I want to hit 1 to look at it from the Y axis. I want to hit G, Y, G, X, and line it up, and then I'm going to hit 3, hit Control 3, and I'm going to hit G, Y to move it across the Y axis, and then I'm going to hit G, Z to drop it down. About right there. That looks pretty neat. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and start shaping this up a little bit differently. I'm going to hit grab, Shift Z. Whoops, didn't turn the proportional editing on. Let's turn that on with the O key. Hit grab, Shift Z, and we'll reshape this so it don't look like the rest of them. And I'm going to do the same, grab, Shift Z. Grab, Shift Z, shrink that down so it don't mess with the other mesh here. I have to scroll out a little bit. Alright, I can deal with that. And then let's add this last little bit of leaves here. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Shift A and do another UV sphere. I'm going to turn the proportional editing off. Hit grab Z, and then grab X to move it there, and then I want to scale that down, but I only want to scale it on the Z axis. Scale that down like that, grab Z, put it there, and I want to leave that little branch sticking out. And then I'm going to hit grab Z, move it up, then I'm going to scale it, Shift Z to scale it on everything but the Z axis. And then now we can start really playing with these other vertices to give it more shape. I'm going to hit O key, turn on that proportional editing. I'm going to hit G and Z. I'm going to pull this down, kind of drop that like that. Actually, G, Z. X, G, Shift Z, move that in some. I don't want this to go through this branch as much. I kind of want to grab, Shift Z, and kind of move it off this branch a little bit. Let's grab it right here. Grab, Shift Z, shrink that proportional editing influence off. I don't want to move any of the other meshes. I don't want to move any of the other meshes. Grab, pull that on back some. Grab this vertex here, grab Shift Z, pull that back some. And grab Shift Z, pull it out some. Grab Shift Z. What's that one? Grab Shift Z, roll this out. Grab Shift Z, pull this out. Grab Shift Z. Now, let's grab on the y-axis, pull that out some. And then I'm going to grab on this one, grab on the y-axis, grab on the z-axis, grab on the z-axis, and I might actually grab on the z-axis on some of these, kind of make these look like they're drooping down a little bit more. Grab Z. You can grab any vertex, just kind of shape up the bundle of leaves here to whatever you feel comfortable with, using the proportional editing and using the tools that you've already learned, and just kind of make something your own. I kind of like it the way it is. I don't really want to, actually, let's grab Z, let that one droop down a little bit. Grab and Y, pull it out some, like that. Alright. It's pretty neat. I like that. I'm happy with that. Now, if you notice, this is all one object, and I can hit grab and move all the leaves at one time. That's why I wanted to go into edit mode. That way, when I was adding those spheres, it let Blender know that, yes, you're adding more spheres, but it's all into one object. It's all of the same objects. Once I go back into object mode, Blender knows that all those spheres that I added is one object. Some people don't like this low poly look here with all these polys being shown. And to get rid of that, what you want to do is you want to right click and hit shade smooth, and that'll get rid of that. And you can do the same thing to the tree trunk, but I don't particularly like the way that looks. Some people do. It kind of gives it a clay look. It's up to you. And hit Control Z to undo it. Once we go into material mode and I change the material of the leaves, I may change my mind and want that shade smooth. It's just something you got to play with. Now, what I want to do is I want to go into material or render display mode, and I want to go into edit mode. And what I want to do is, first off, I want to turn the proportional editing off because I see that I still have it on. Hit that OK to turn that off. I want to hover over this one, I think. Actually, let's do this. Let's do add new material, and I'm going to rename this as leaves 1. And then I'm going to hit this plus sign right here to let Blender know to add another material, and I'm going to hit new, and I'm going to name this one leaves 2. What I want to do is I'm going to go to leaves 1. I'm going to change this to a green color. I'm in here, and I kind of want to darken that down. It's an awful bright green. Darken it down. There we go. Get a nice little reflection off of it. And we can take that reflection off. Remember, if we go down here into roughness and turn the roughness up, and take that reflection off so it ain't as bad. I don't want it all the way up. You can do that if you want, but I kind of want to, about right there is nice. I kind of like the way that looks. And I think we'll stick with that dark green. We'll play with the lighting later. Now, I don't want all of them to be the same color, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to have 2 different colors. That's why I named leaves 1 and leaves 2. I'm going to keep this the dark green, and this the dark green, but these two I'm going to make a lighter green. And I'm going to hit L and L to grab both of those. Go to this leaves to, and then hit assign right here, and it will assign that material to this selection here. And you notice it's white still, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in here to the green, kind of give it more of a yellowish tint. Come over here at this slider, pull it down to a darker color, about right there, and there we go. I got 2 shades of green. I like that a little bit better. Now what I want to do now, just to kind of give it some more colors, I want to hit shift. Actually, let's hit tab to go back into object mode, hit shift A, and I want to add another light, and let's do a sunlight. Grab the axis, bring it up here on top, and let's turn the strength up just a bit. There we go. Shining straight down on it, and you can move this light to get better lighting, or you can grab this little yellow dot and rotate the way the sun's coming in and hitting it. It's whatever you feel. I'm going to kind of keep it like this. I might even move this, grab Z. Kind of like everything kind of shining down on it. Makes it just a tad bit brighter right there in this section. You get some shade in there. I'm not going to change anything with this tree trunk. I'm going to keep that as the sharp edges. I kind of like that. Now you can do other things. You can hit shift A, add a plane. Where's a plane? And scale this up as far as you want. And then you can hit over here to your right, new material. And we can name this grass, G-R-A-S-S. And we can change the color of that. Hold on a second. We can name that grass, and we can change the color of that to a green. We'll go to a darker green like this. Don't want that as bright. Darken it so it looks right. Take that roughness down to get this reflection here out of it. Whoops. Crank the roughness up. Whoops, we take it down, it's gonna really be some shiny grass. But let's turn the roughness all the way up. That's what I'm gonna do. And then say if we hit O key to go in, you notice that here is our tree trunk, and that's about all we can see in the shadow. Let's resituate our camera here, and then we'll add a blue background to make it look like the sky. But to do that, instead of switching back and forth and looking at it as you move it, what we're going to do is go up here in between these two to the plus symbol shows up right here in this little crease section here. Click and hold and drag it to the left, and you have the same view here, except it's in solid mode. I'm going to go into render viewport mode, and I'm going to hit 0 over here, so I'm constantly able to see what the camera's seeing, and you can zoom in or out on that to kind of fit that in. So I'm going to grab this camera, and I'm going to hit grab, and then I'm going to move it on the x-axis. Maybe, nah, we'll pull it back this way, and then I'm going to rotate it on the z-axis. Whoops. And then I'm going to hit 7 to go on the top view here, and I'm going to hit grab, shift Z. That way I don't move it on the z-axis, move it back. It's about right here. And then I'm going to rotate it. I'm going to hit X, and then I'm going to hit X again to rotate it the way I need it to. Then I'm going to grab, shift Z, pull it back some more so I get more of the tree in there. Now you notice that this background's gray, and like I said, we're going to add that blue background there to make it look like the sky. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to hit that plane, I'm going to hit tab, and I'm going to go hit 2, go to edge select mode, and I'm going to select that edge there, and I'm going to hit shift, select that edge there, and I'm going to hit E to extrude, and I'm going to keep that on the Z axis and move it straight up. Once we do that, I'm going to hit 3, and hit shift, select both of those faces. I'm gonna add a new material. I'm gonna name this as sky, just to kind of give us a simple background, nothing too wild and crazy. I'm gonna turn this to blue, maybe like that. And then I'm gonna hit assign with the, make sure that the faces are selected, because if I hit assign and nothing's selected, Blender doesn't know what to assign it to. So now I hit assign, and there you go. What I will do though is I'll probably move the camera. So let's go to tab, object mode, grab Y, and then hit R to rotate, Z, rotate on that Z axis, and then grab Z to lift it up. Actually, I'm going to grab X to pull it away, and then rotate Z just a little bit, just to kind of, there we go. And then now I want to play with the lighting. So grab the sunlight here. Remember, this right here is called a point light. As you can see, it's selected. And then if you click this other light we added, we have a sunlight. It's also named sunlight up here, and this is just light. But right here, you notice there's a sun symbol, which lets us know that this is the sunlight. And this right here represents point light. You can change the color of these lights right here in the settings here, color, and just change that to whatever you'd like. Prefer, I'm gonna leave it about that color. You can even up the strength on it or down the strength. Kind of want to rotate it. There we go. I didn't like the way that shadow was falling exactly. It's too straight up and under it. So now I'm going to do something with this light. I don't know what I want to do. Let's see. Grab Z, play around here. It's too bright almost. Let's tone that down a little bit. I just kind of want to highlight a little bit, not much. Grab, pull it away some maybe, and then brighten it a little bit. See if it'll, there we go. That's kind of what I want. There we go. Still don't like that it's got that shadow. Let's see. Take and diffuse it a little bit. Mess with the specular maybe, or the volume. Maybe if I grab it, put it closer, and then play with the diffuse, I can get almost the results I'm looking for. Not particularly. Let's take this down just a tad. I'm pretty happy with that. And also take just to give it a little bit of different color. I'll brighten it up a little bit, give it a little bit of a yellow. Right. Maybe we can, let's hit 7 over here. Grab, shift Z so I don't move it. Kind of put this like that. That's better. I like that a lot better. Alright, now what we want to do is we want to hit F12 to render that image. And once you do, there you go. You got a picture of your tree, you got a little shadow here, and you can save that image, save as, and you can save it to wherever you want. And you are good to go. So thank you guys, hope you enjoyed that, and I'm probably going to do a couple more tutorials, a whole scene with this tree, add a couple rocks. So if you guys are interested in maybe doing some more easy Blender basics like this, please stay tuned for more, because I'm going to do, like I said, I'm going to do rocks, and in that one I'll probably use a decimate tool to really help shape the rocks, and we'll continue to do that grab, rotate, and extrude and things like that. And it's going to help you get used to using those tools. So in the next project, we'll be just using these tools over and over again. And remember, the more you do it, the better you're going to get. Practice makes perfect, and repetition is key. So keep an eye out for those next couple of videos, dealing with the rocks and adding more to this scene. Might even do some flowers, who knows, we'll see. It just depends on what I feel like. If anybody has an idea of something low poly they'd like to add to this, like logs or something simple that you'd find out in the forest, leave comments below, give me some ideas. If not, like I said, I think the next step is probably the easiest thing, I think, and it helps us introduce the couple extra tools and modifiers. Going into modifiers, most definitely, is I'm going to use a rock as an example. So we'll make a low poly rock, add some materials to it, and kind of add a little bit more to this scene because your tree looks a little lonely. So thank you, and if you don't mind, like and subscribe.